Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cartridge Quarters, episode, I believe, 13. I think I'm finally starting to get used to memorizing the numbers here. The only show that talks about retro games. That's right, you heard that for the only show that talks about retro games, especially games that feel retro, like the Skull and Bones reveal that we just got today, because it genuinely feels like an archaic game. But hey, jokes aside, my name is Adam, aka CS Radical, I am joined by Mr. the illustrious Chin and Chris, aka just Chris.
Yeah, just Chris. What's up, everybody? Imagine that was my gamer tag, just Chris.
I mean, somebody has that gamer tag.
Somebody guaranteed has that. Oh, 100% somebody has that.
So, you make the joke, but I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I'm sure there's just Radical, too.
Just Radical?
And more importantly, just Jin.
Just Jin. Oh, I like that. Just Jin. That has so many levels to it, you know?
Well, speaking of levels, retro games, right? That's the closest thing I can do to a segue there. Obviously, to start off, shout out to GDQ, Games Done Quick, Summer Game Done. English is so bloody hard sometimes. Summer Games Done Quick. See that? Remember what was the thing yesterday or last week you were trying to say that you were struggling with? There was something that you were struggling on.
It was I remember it being tough, and I erased it from my memory on purpose because also, there's no way I'll be able to do it.
I totally forgot. Speaking of what I thought was yesterday, sincere apologies for forgetting to upload the episode on time. I was in the middle of editing the Pixel Play show on Tuesday when I went because I have two different files for when I make the cover images for our two shows. And in my recent files on Photoshop, I saw the Pixel Play above the Cartridge Quarters one, and I went, that makes no sense. The C and Q should be hot. Uh-oh. So that's why you got the last episode on Wednesday at like 11:30 at night. So, oops. Or I should say two. It doesn't matter. It wasn't Saturday morning. That's my bad.
It wasn't.
We will alleviate that this week for sure. I mean, assuming that it is out at 10 a.m. on Saturday this week, I guess we'll find out.
Imagine you do it again, and it's like, sincerest apologies.
At that point, I wouldn't even edit it. I'd just be like, you know what? I'll let that sit.
Yeah, at that point,
it's funnier that way.
We've changed to a new time slot, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah, the time slot is just random. That's the time slot.
Ooh, I like that.
But yeah, like I said, shout out to GGQ. The official number, I believe, I had it set up here. It was $3,016,817 raised for Doctors Without Borders. I will say, as somebody who is now a little deeper into the speedrunning community, there was a bit of controversy behind this just because it seemed like they went out of their way to delay that to make sure they hit 3 million this year, which is a shame, but also I'm not surprised that it was a struggle because given watching it this year, something just felt off. I don't know if you felt the same.
A little bit. There was a little bit like it felt like they hadn't fully got their groove back with certain things and such.
There was definitely a lot of talk within the FF4 community that obviously I'm a part of with the randomizer setup in that it felt like they went very safe this year because they knew they were not going to have like full capabilities in person. So they went to a lot of the old guard to make this go, because a lot of the runs that I saw, like apart from the random games that you've never heard of that are usually in like the late night hours, a lot of it just felt like the same stuff, apart from, you know, like newer things like obviously Elden Ring, which you knew was going to be the big creme de la creme this year, but not a lot of stuff that felt like, oh, I haven't seen that before. I mean, there was the Final Fantasy VI randomizer, which was cool. Although I will admit I have no interest in playing that specific randomizer after watching that run. It didn't look nearly as interesting as I thought it would be. Which is a shame because I love 6. So I was kind of disappointed in that. But hey, it is what it is. Not everything can be perfect. I mean, also, as somebody who plays the 4 randomizer, it makes perfect sense that works so well as a randomizer. Because all you got to do is just randomize where the key items that you're given are. And that opens up all your different checks. Whereas 6 doesn't have that. It's usually just linear through the characters that it bases it on. So it's not as easy to open things up. I think with Worlds Collide, as they showed, getting certain characters unlocks more than one check sometimes. So like getting Terra unlocks a crap ton of stuff, for example. So it felt a little more complicated in that way. So it was a little bit harder to get behind.
Yeah. As someone who doesn't play the randomizers, obviously, myself, I don't see it as much as you, obviously, because you're more in it. It definitely does give a different vibe than the FF4 one though, because the FF4 one is like go to one item to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. It's like a scavenger hunt. Whereas this did feel slightly different. Where it was kind of like, for me, it felt randomized when certain things got unlocked because I didn't know what the heck we were even aiming for. It was like, oh, we got a character. Oh, what's all this? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, it's also very entertaining to find Ultros from when you're on the raft suddenly just on land. So you have these tentacle attacks that are just coming out of the concrete.
Yeah, I mean, that's what an octopus does, man. You just haven't met the right octopuses.
Right, right. Remember, kids, don't bully the octopus.
Do not. Oh my gosh. If there's anything you take away from today's episode, don't bully octopuses. That's it.
Otherwise, like I watched a few other more like I'm not going to talk about the newer games that I watched, but like I saw a Super Mario All Stars run that they basically just broke the cartridge essentially.
Yeah, that was interesting to watch. It was those ones I like, and Seth Bling, who did the run, like I've been following him for a while because I he's a Super Mario World like master, but it's I don't know, those ones I don't always find as fun. It's interesting to see, but it's more just like, all right, we're all gonna press this button and do this. All right, see this glitch, and boom, credits.
It's cool to
We're,
see it once, and then after that, you're
yeah.
like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, after that I just want to watch somebody run through the game with pixel perfect jumping, or no power-ups or whatever it may be. That I'm super into. The glitch stuff is fun once, but I mean, if that was all GDQ, I wouldn't watch half as many of the runs as I do.
Yeah, it's a nice like change of pace, but for the most part, you're just looking for like I want to see some of my favorite games just get absolutely just dismantled by someone who's so skilled at this game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm hoping for.
And like probably one of my favorites in terms of that was Perfect Dark, which I definitely enjoyed quite a bit.
I liked that run. That was a fun run. It was nice to see Perfect Dark again too. I hadn't seen that game in a while, and it was nice to kind of see it for nostalgic reasons, obviously.
Yeah, I mean there is still a little bit of game breaking, obviously getting out of the map and stuff for certain things, but for the most part, it was just doing things really really fast,
Yeah.
which is what makes a better run to me. Like not every time do I want to see like a task bot, for example. I don't want to see like a computer show you like how to break the game in the most ways possible. I'd rather see like it's just someone who knows like all the ins and outs of the games and just flies through it faster than any of us ever could hope to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I definitely like the having one taskbot run, like having that be its own section that usually was in the runs of the whole week. They'd be like, oh, it's the taskbot block for an hour or whatever. It was nice having it always there, just set. This is that time you want to see that. The rest of it is going to be, speedrunners just breaking the game, but for the most part playing it just like with extreme skill.
Yeah, it's like with the taskbot stuff, like seeing them go through Mario Kart Wii and just breaking the courses. Like it's fun to see once, but after that, you're like, well, it's not anybody doing it. It's not nearly as interesting now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were there any runs that you took away like being awesome this year?
Trying to think of what I had seen because I still have a lot to catch up on. If I'm going to be completely honest, I do have a lot to catch up on. I wanted to see the Sonic Generations run. Um, what else? Because funny enough, a lot of the runs that I saw are the ones you just mentioned, like that Mario All Stars. I did see a bunch of the horror block, which was just because I was up later at night. I never have an interest in that one, but I also loved GDQ, so I did watch it. I can't even remember most of the games. Like I was watching the Silent Hill 2 or no, Silent Hill 4? One of the Silent Hill games. It was, I know it wasn't the first one. That I know for sure. So that run was kind of interesting because it wasn't like too scary, especially when they break it the way they do. It's like, okay, this is just like completely not scary anymore. But yeah, I have a lot. I think I actually have a lot more catching up to do than I think.
Yeah, we don't have the same kind of time that we used to anymore. So, it's pretty easy to fall behind with these, especially when you're talking like 7 full days worth of gameplay. So, and especially with some of the runs, like I know there was a Final Fantasy X one that I still have to catch that was like 4+ hours. I know there's a Yakuza Like a Dragon one, although that's not retro, but hey, it's still something I gotta watch, and that's like almost 5 hours. So not every run is like, Super Mario broken in like, 30 minutes kind of deal. Like you got to do a little bit more running around with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I got to get in there and watch more of it because it's like one of my favorite things all year. and to not have enough time to see it is heartbreaking. So I'm gonna just dedicate some nights where that's gonna be on in the background. Maybe I'll game while it's on, grab the Switch or something. Who knows? But it'll be delightful. I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is going to be the worst segue I make in a while. To go from one heartbreaking thing to another. So we learned as of today, as we're recording on Thursday, the creator of the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise, hang on, let me see if I can pronounce. Oh, this isn't that bad. Never mind, I can handle this one. Kazuki Takahashi. He was found dead either. I think it's Thursday. I'm not sure. I'm assuming that's Japanese time, so it might have been like before it was even our Thursday. But he was found dead in Okinawa, which is a shame. He was 60 years old, but like I grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh. That was my first entry into trading card games. Pokemon I didn't do a lot of, and then Magic was a little bit later. Yu-Gi-Oh, though, I definitely have a bit of a real bit of nostalgia for, especially in terms of like some of the older games. Like Game Boy Advance was usually where most of my teeth were cut, although there was a Game Boy Color game that didn't follow the rules very well at all. But then again, Yu-Gi-Oh! In its early infant stages here in North America didn't follow any of the rules. If anybody remembers watching the first season of the TV show, it did not follow the fucking rules at all.
No.
It's just like, I have a Blue Eyes, let's just put it on the field. Who cares if it's the most powerful card in the game?
Yeah, I didn't get as much into Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know if it was an age thing. Probably, because like around that time, you go from 13 to 16 to 19, and like that doesn't sound like a lot of time. So you went from 33 to 36 to 39. You're not changing. Everything's still the same. But when you're a teenager, all of a sudden you're shifting gears so often that I did move away a bit from trading card games around that time. So I didn't get into it nowhere near as much as normal. Because Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, or whatever you want to think of, I was into it hard, all of them, a lot.
And I think, to my knowledge, like Magic the Gathering Online is, I think, because we've had it on our this week and We're Old, I should say, we've had it on the list. So technically, Magic video games are starting to become retro too.
Yeah, which is crazy. But I mean, like actual physical cards, those were the first ones I got into. I think I was only like 10, so it was like 1993 or something ridiculous. They were already out.
Well, it's definitely one of those things too that like it's so interesting hearing about how some people got really into it as kids and others didn't. And a lot of it is just because, well, trading card games are friggin' expensive.
It was so expensive. Oh my God. I think with Magic, even though I was so into it, I think I had maybe enough that would have been like 2 packs. And the first pack was one where it was like literally a starter pack that you bought and you got a deck of cards and it was enough that you could technically play. It was everything you'd technically need. And then I just got some boosters after that slowly. It was way too expensive. I couldn't get into it at all like how I would have probably wanted to at that age.
Well, because that was the thing too. Like most of us weren't working until like, mid-teens, like 15, 16, you started getting a job. Like I had a paper route from like 13, so I did have some income, but realistically, I wasn't going around like buying, booster pack after booster pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. There was once in a blue moon that I would buy one and get absolutely nothing in it, generally speaking, but that's how those things usually work. But I mean, I had like a starter deck. I had some decent stuff by the time. Like I could have gone into a tournament and not lost every game unless I got a bad like run of people. Because you get kids that are the same as you, where they don't spend too much money on, it. And then you get like the guy who's like 35, looking like a creep in a kid's trading card store, and he's just wrecking kids left and right because that's all his income being put towards it. But hey, that's how it's always been.
Yeah, my income definitely is why I didn't get into these as much. I had a paper route from when I was 11, so I actually had some money always kind of on the side. My issue is I was into Pogs. Then when that was done, I went into Magic. Then when that was done, I went into Pokemon trading cards. When that was done, I went into Warhammer. Like I didn't stick with one thing long enough to build it up because I'd move on to the next thing. I was just overwhelmed and couldn't afford to do all of them. So I had to always shift to a new thing and stick with that purely as my one and only gaming hobby, like real life gaming hobby.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the video games served a purpose of too. I mean, Pokemon trading card game as well, like being one of the OGs for us too. It was the idea of just being able to play with all these cards you'd never get to hold in a day in your life.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Like, especially with the game that I got on stream right now, if you're watching on YouTube, the I think it's Millennia the Worldwide Duelist or World Championship or something like that. There's a lot of weird names with Yu-Gi-Oh games because it's Japan, of course. They got to make ridiculously long names for half their stuff. But like being able to just use cheat codes and get all of the cards so you can just like make like super decks. Just like,
Yeah.
basically like tournament level decks that no one could ever fathom making unless you're spending like thousands of dollars on it. And just walk in and go up to Kaiba and just be like, you take the gif of him like getting killed by Exodia basically in the blinding light, and you get to do that every time you face anybody because you're just overwhelmingly powerful. It was great.
Yeah.
Same goes for like any like Pokemon, just being able to have like all the cards. Magic, I'm sure, is the same thing. Although I've never played any of those games enough to get a really super deck. Although most of the games now with Magic are kind of like what Hearthstone is today, where it's definitely more money based now in the same vein that like old school trading card games were, which is fucking weird to think about. That
Yeah.
card games now are literally card games in real life, except there's now assuming no value with these cards you now have digitally.
Yep. Because when you had the original cards, sure, you bought a Charizard and it cost you like $500, but at least you knew at some point, as long as you took care of that card, you could sell it and maybe make money on it. Like it was an actual physical thing. Where, yeah, because digital card games, it was like you said, you could enter a cheat code and unlock everything. Now that would be a microtransaction for every single card. So,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean,
the old days
given
were
what we
better.
see with EA Sports games, or I guess the sport games in general, with how they have your essentially trading card mode, where you have cards of all the players and doing the same thing. It just seems like a process that is now like become a reality in games, which is very disappointing. But I guess that's the nature of everything being online now. So, and the competitive nature with people, and not everybody's going to want to go outside to spend money in a store. So why not have them do it literally in the comfort of their own living room? So
Oh, absolutely.
it's a shame, but that's kind of just how everything has gone since. So, but yeah, either way, it is sad to see a name like Kazuki Takahashi pass like that. I mean, 60's not young, but it's also based on the circumstances of his death, not a great outcome either. So it's kind of a shame. Obviously thoughts and prayers to his family, anybody who knew him, obviously the entire team that works on Yu-Gi-Oh to this day, and yeah, to all the player base out there, like the legend is gone. So I guess now it's just you just play the game that you love the way that we still love it today. So it's
Yeah.
weird. I mean, it's not like I knew the name. Like when I saw that this morning, I went, "Oh, okay." I didn't even know that was the name of the creator. But now it's like, damn, that's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely makes you like self-reflect for it's like nostalgia that you start to go through, and then you didn't actually know who it was the whole time, and now you know. You kind of start reliving it all again, you know?
Yeah, because in some cases we know everything. Like obviously we know Miyamoto, we know
Yeah.
Keiji Inafune, like names like that.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a case where unless you were like really deep into Yu-Gi-Oh, you didn't know. But like now it's one of those things that stands out because a lot of us were way into this, when we were teens or even kids in some cases. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and I'm sure at some point down the road we will have. Actually, I've probably passed over Yu-Gi-Oh games in this week in world because I've always thought like there's like a million of these games. I can't put every single one on there, but we definitely passed them before. So I'm even sure if I passed through this week when I was searching up them, I'm pretty sure I came across at least one or two. So either way, Legend. We'll hopefully see that things get. I mean, I've heard that the newest Yu-Gi-Oh game is amazing. I just can't be bothered to because I don't want to get stuck into that trap of playing a free-to-play card game and then all of a sudden being tempted.
Yeah. Oops, where'd my $200 go?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it would get to that point because I'm not competitive anymore, so I wouldn't care as much. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's only if you like really have that need to collect things. Because in person, I used to get that a lot. At least in games, I'm able to hold back a lot because it's not really there.
yeah, not so much now. It's a lot easier to know that when you realize you have bills to pay. Although I guess that's not the same
Also
for
true.
everybody, unfortunately. That's a subject for a completely different podcast. So.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Moving on, the other story that I wanted to touch on last week, but we kind of didn't have time for. Also, I kind of forgot at the same time. I saw something really cool last week where I can't think of the guy's name. I'll try to find it as I'm searching around here. But somebody's trying to make like for release, but somebody's trying to prove that it's possible to make an open world Simpsons hit and run, which I think is an insanely cool idea.
Oh, insanely. I love the footage. Like, why don't I have that? Why?
That's the kind of stuff that makes you go, "Oh my god, why can't this be a real thing that somebody works on?"
Yeah,
Either
100%.
that, or why is
100%.
whoever owns the rights to that game, or like if there are rights holders right now for Simpsons video games at all, like why is they not getting this guy on the phone and be like, "Hey, you want to work for us? Let's get this fucking thing done."
Never understood that. Like, there will be a story of a modder or something being like sued by one of these developers and stuff. It's like, you guys are idiot. Like, this person, through just their own will, was able to create something better than you. Hire the person, get them to do that, but pay them and make it official. It's like they're already halfway done.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because you wonder like it's clearly something that is wanted by the public. Because Simpsons Hit and Run specifically is not a game that has been quiet in the
No,
minds of gamers. Like it's been a game that's
no.
been requested a
Yeah,
lot to get
a lot.
re-released.
A lot. Oh, yeah. A lot.
Because it is a legend. Like I will say, it's a legendary game from that era. It 100% is.
Oh, yeah. I think so too. 100% legendary.
Like you really sit back and look at that game. Like it really is like the best of what Grand Theft Auto was before Saints Row kind of came in and started taking the role of, bringing in cars or not bringing in Grand Theft Auto in a much more like fun, lighthearted way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because, yeah, Grand Theft Auto was always like very serious. Well, not very serious. It was still ridiculous, but it wasn't like zany ridiculous. Like The Simpsons could be Saints Row, obviously. Oh, I'm having so many nostalgic feels for Simpsons Hit and Run.
Right.
Oh, man.
Well,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those games that like if they even just did like a bare bones remastering. I mean, obviously the guy in this video has shown like if you put the real work in, what you can actually do with it instead of just putting it into a computer and letting it upres it, where it's not going to really look nearly as good as it should.
Yeah.
But like there are definitely ways to make this work and work phenomenally well, and it's the kind of thing that like not just this game, but there's a lot of games specifically from like PS1, PS2 era that my god, like there are a lot of kids that didn't get to play these games, and I think that there's some that need to be.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's such an annoyance when so many games get that quick easy buck like remaster treatment like obviously Chrono Cross seems to have gotten.
Yep. Yeah. And like, even when you think about it too, like, there's even ones where it gets worse from the original. It's pretty crazy that Rockstar, who's like a rock star normally at making open world games, they basically made it the norm through Grand Theft Auto, made their definitive vision version of the trilogy for Grand Theft Auto, which was horrible. And then there's this guy takes a game, The Simpsons, and creates this amazing concept. And it's like, how is this person doing better than what should be the best games in the open world? Like, and like taking them and giving them that treatment versus what this guy's doing. Like, it's crazy.
Well, it's actually a really easy answer, I would imagine. I mean, you look at it in the same vein of how long it took for Sega to realize, let's just get those guys that were doing fan projects of this and just put them
Yeah.
into it. When you put people on there that are on time constraints and they're more in the business of making money, they're gonna make like if at best good versions of the thing, whereas fans will put as much time as they can into a passion project and they'll make it perfect
Yeah.
because they want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
Most developers do not want a perfect game out the door because that will take forever. They would rather get a acceptable or decently like good quality game and get it out the door sooner than possible, so that way they get the most effective like amount of money out of it for what they're spending. So it's easy for like I saw a project recently on Reddit where a guy spent 4 years making a fan project like Dragon Ball Z video. It was like a 10-minute like short, and it's amazing. But like that if you gave it to like I don't know, insert company here. I mean, not to say that Dragon Ball Z isn't doing a bad job. It's a bad example in retrospect, but like for the average thing, like if you give it to a company, they won't take 4 years to do that.
No.
They'll push
Yeah.
it out quicker. In the case of games, it's definitely true. If you want to make true like proper remakes of say like you said with the example of Grand Theft Auto, doing 3 Vice City and San Andreas perfectly would take a lot longer than they probably spent on that game.
Yep. That is true.
And we probably wouldn't have even been announced for this thing until like another, oh god, let's say another 3 years from now. Now,
Yeah.
and it would be amazing, and we'd all be sitting here being like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing ever. But to Rockstar, that's 3 extra years that they're paying people for. So that's that. I guess that's the thinking of it, right?
Yeah, true. I guess it's a strategy for them. And then they would announce that and everybody would finally be like, "Oh, new Grand Theft Auto. Wait, it's not 6? The hell?"
Yeah, it's kind of the perfect world scenario that we would want to have, but it just isn't possible.
Yeah.
Because like not every company can just suddenly create a new team of like 50 people to go ham on this other thing while they're still all hands on deck on this one big ass project they're doing. So it's not always as simple.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
But it brings back that conversation that you mentioned earlier about just how so many companies just seem to shit on fan projects like that. And it does drive me genuinely insane because a lot of the times that this happens, it's projects that these companies have no interest in actually building anything of.
Yeah.
And my thing too is like, if they're not charging money for the thing, who cares?
Yeah, it's I don't understand. It's almost like, "Oh, is it because you're doing your own version and you don't want this one to be in the way?" But they're not. They're not doing their own version.
I feel like there needs to be like if you're going to put a cease and desist order like that for a game that's not actually being made for the express purposes of making money, that you should have to prove that you are actually producing something.
Yeah, that'd be a
And that
good.
case can be revisited if by X amount of time you still haven't put the thing out.
Yeah.
Although most people wouldn't go forward with that case because that's going to be like a couple of years later, and you're not going to suddenly have a lawyer just to make a case of a game that you were just going to, put out for free anyway. But it's the
Yeah.
idea that at the very least there should be something in the system so that companies can't just immediately go, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I'd understand if the person's selling it. As soon as you start selling it for money, yes, now that's not your property. You can't make money off it. But if it's a fan project and you're just recreating a game in Unreal Engine 5 on a PC or whatever, like again, don't be pissed at that person. Hire them. And then get subscribed to Unreal Engine 5 and update that N64 game and put it in Unreal Engine. This person will help you. Look what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes back to the conversation that me and Kalen had on Pixel Play this week, where we talked about Ubisoft removing a lot of games' online capabilities, so like Assassin's Creed, most of the old ones, and that would include access to things like DLC, which is kind of stupid. And it
Yeah.
goes back to that whole thing of everything has a shelf life. It seems these days where you literally cannot do anything anymore with it. It's
Yeah.
not just it's not like the case of, oh, if the cartridge is broken, okay, you can find another cartridge. Now it's like you can have the disc, it doesn't fucking matter because some of the content is locked away forever. And I made the comments to say, what is stopping companies from just putting the source code of a game up on their website and saying, hey, pay this flat fee or pay us a monthly fee, so like make a subscription system for your source codes and say, hey, if you have the license for this, you can make fan projects, or if you want to make private servers for this online access of this thing, go and do that. Just pay us this. I don't understand why that's not a solution to these problems either.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I'd never thought of that, but I really like that idea.
Because, like, in the case of,
Really like
say,
that
for
idea.
example, like some of the Assassin's Creed games with their online multiplayer, they're no longer accessible anymore. So, what would be stopping somebody from paying, like, let's say $100 flat, or if you want to go there, let's say you get this Ubisoft account that's for all their code, and it's like $15 a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And you are just you specifically, as long as your name is attached to the one, it can only be done once too, because if there's suddenly multiple projects with it, all of a sudden you got to buy another set of licenses. So you can't just have like a license and suddenly throw out 10 projects. Let's go with that, even so that way companies can be like, oh, what's that? I can make even more money if a guy wants to do like several projects. Ooh, but
Yeah.
like you could say, okay, pay us this flat fee or pay us this monthly fee, and you can have like a private server, or like you're allowed to have a private server in your name. Or you can say, hey, like, if you take the source code for Simpsons Hit and Run, like this guy is doing an open world version of, you pay this flat fee, you pay this monthly fee, you can throw this on a store shelf. You can't sell it for any profit, but you can put it up there. We will not DMCA you at any aspect because you
Yeah.
have the license to use it. I don't understand why companies don't think of that, but I know why they don't is because they have no goddamn forbearance aside from the next thing they're going to make that's going to make money. That's all they think
Yeah.
about. They don't care about, the past stuff. We've learned over and over again that for the most part, the only times companies care about older properties is when they bring them back for a quick buck, or when they tease them for nostalgia purposes of the next thing they're making.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good marketing tool. Yeah, ugh. These are such good ideas, and it all comes down to being a fan to being just like a board of directors on a company. And it's you're one or the other, and a lot of the developers, I bet, at the companies are actually fans, like the actual people who are coding, making the games in QA, wherever it may be. It's the very high ups where it's
Yeah,
like,
it's the
sure,
businessmen who do not
exactly.
care. They're
Yeah,
probably the same people that think that video games are a disease, but they're making money off of it, so who cares?
right. Ridiculous.
The old scapegoat once again comes through, and you know that these people are looking down on us, being like, "You guys are so stupid. You're spending $50,000 on Diablo Immortals, even though you know that it's terrible. Ugh, you fucking riffraff! I cannot wait to
Yeah.
go to my private yacht after I've sexually assaulted half of my coworkers. I mean, what? I'm sorry. Did I go on a bit off of a tangent there?
You did, and not a single set thing you said was false.
But yeah, it's a real shame because there are so many games that I would love to see come back, and there are so many fans out there that would love to do that. Simpsons Hit and Run, obviously, as we've seen. But like, you think of games like Legend of Dragoon, you think of games like, say, the 007 games from PS2 era, like Nightfall and Agent Under Fire. I'm trying to
Xeno
think.
Gears, Radiata Stories, Final Fantasy Tactics.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess in some cases you're gonna have to be careful because of the licensing. I don't think Final Fantasy is gonna happen anytime soon because Square has got that shit hard held to the chest.
Yeah, true.
They're choking that out like a wrestler did in the '80s with a bear hug. That's what they're doing.
The bear hug in Final Fantasy.
But yeah, like I really am always impressed by like what modders and fans are capable of doing, and it's such a shame that they don't really get the chance to actually show that off. It's really just a case of you always see the story of somebody's working on this mod for it, and it's going to be ready in the next year, and then within 6 months you see a story about how that project got DMCA'd. It's
Yeah.
almost always a thing that happens.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I don't get it.
It's why there are some amazing stories like Black Mesa. The fact that Black Mesa exists is incredible to me.
Yeah, well, Valve was like, yeah, do it. Go ahead. Put it on Steam.
Well, because Valve is admitting on themselves, like, we're not going to fucking make it.
We're not making Half-Life
Do
3,
you know
let
how much
alone
money we're
Half-Life 1
making off
remake.
of doing nothing?
Yeah. There you go, developers. Just make a store that's good. Not Ubisoft Connect. Oh,
I was going to say, really,
not
nobody's
Origin.
done it then because it's literally
Yeah.
just Valve.
Yeah, Valve's only really the good one.
I mean, we're
It's-
talking PC, by the way. Yes, we
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
Sony and
PC.
Microsoft exist, and Nintendo
Yeah.
too, I guess. I mean, I guess I can say something nice about Nintendo. You can buy stuff on their store. That's the nicest thing I can say about Nintendo right now. Everybody knows from Pixel Play's rant, I may have slagged Nintendo again because it is my favorite thing to do next to slagging Sega and Square Enix here on this show. So
Yep. All the classics. The
I have
console
my
wars mean nothing to you. You want them all dead.
I have my targets. I can't help it. I mean, it's probably better that I talk about them because it means I still care. There are certain companies I don't talk about at all for obvious reasons because I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about them.
That's the reason you're still fighting with them. You're showing them you still care.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you should really fucking make a turn-based Final Fantasy, Square.
Yes, they should. Oh, yes, they should. Just any good turn-based game by them would be great at
Yeah,
this
we
point.
take almost fucking anything at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. You ready?
No, I'm never ready. Never.
This week in We're Old, it's time for
Oh,
a albeit shorter list than usual, but that's not saying much.
okay.
Last week
That'll
was pretty
make-
big.
well,
I say last
that's
week as
old.
the episode came out literally 3 or 4 days before this episode is, so technically not really, but hey, it is what
Yeah.
it is. So, starting off Sunday, July the 3rd, it would be on the day that would have been, except it's not because time is not the way that it should be. I actually well, short aside here. I know that my perception of time in the last 3 years is completely destroyed. So I went in to get my first massage in what felt like the entire pandemic, last weekend. And I went in and they're like, "Oh, so has anything changed from when we last saw you?" I'm like, "I mean, if there has been, I couldn't tell you anymore because it feels like forever. I mean, I haven't been here for over 3 years." And they're like, No, it's only been 2." I'm like, "What?" It's definitely not. No, there's no way it's been 2. And they go, "No, the last time you were here was X Day 2020." And my brain just went, Oh my god, what's happening to me?
I'm 100% the same way. I know what day of the week it is. I'm really good with that. But then if it's like, oh, what year is it? And I'll be like, at this point, I have no idea. Ever since like 2020 hit January, no idea. It's one of the 20s.
I think it's a good sign though, because a lot of us talk about how, oh, by the way, just so you know, everybody thinks that Mario World is like an old school Mario. That's Sunshine now. Like there's those kind of memes.
Yeah.
Except I'm now at the point in my life right now where things feel like they're further away than they actually are, which is probably a good thing because it means time isn't leaving me as fast as I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. You're leaving quicker. You're like, nah, screw you, time. I got things to do.
Either that or I'm having like a Curious Case of Benjamin Button where I'm like completely reversing around here.
Whoa.
I mean, I wish I'd like to be a little bit younger again. I used to have hair back in the day, don't you know?
That would be fun to do as long as at a point I can then re-reverse it and grow
Yeah, you
back.
don't suddenly go to baby again.
Yeah, I don't want baby. I don't even want to be 6. I want to be like maybe a teenager. If I'm going to be 10,
I don't even know if I want to go back to high school. I think I would rather
I don't
like,
want to
be
go to
like
high school.
21 would be like the point where I'd be like, that's good.
Yeah, 20s is good. 20s and 30s. I just want to keep going back and forth between them.
Honestly, if I could restart if I could start college with the years that I have now and take that with me, that'd be the best scenario. I don't think I want to go back any further than that.
No. No, if I wanted to experience what it's like to be 10, it's like for one day only. And then I want to be back up like immediately.
I guess fun question before we go back to This Week in World, to relay it back to retro games before we go back. If there was one game from back in the day that you wish you could play with complete no memory of it, what would it be?
Oh, so many games. How the heck do I pick one of those? Like my mind immediately wants to go to Chrono Trigger.
That's where I was thinking with you too.
Yeah, it's Chrono Trigger. You know what? I'm not even going to think of anything else. My mind knew where to go.
I would probably have to go with Final Fantasy VI in that case.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's another one that was in there.
I mean, Super Nintendo Square JRPG seems like a pretty good way to go if you're looking for like experiencing a story. Because being able to experience like, I mean, look, I'll spoil a more than 20-year-old game. When Kefka just basically destroys the fucking planet is a pretty crazy moment in retrospect. Yeah. And as a kid, I didn't really understand it nearly as much as when I used to. Every time I see that cutscene now, it's fucking horrifying because you're watching like children die.
Yeah, it is horrifying. See, like I think it's like a mom and a baby or a kid are
they
following,
fall
and
through the cracks into the earth.
Oh, and
usually
and
games hide the children death part.
Yeah, usually. Oops. Yeah, no, and that game's going to be like 30 in a couple years.
Yep.
Yeah, that game has a mortgage. I don't.
Well, we won't think that far because we're too busy to think about this current list that we have for this week. So back to the list. So July the 3rd, we have 2 games. Starting in 2002 on the PC in North America, we had the initial release of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos.
All right, yeah.
Before that, I believe, got butchered by Blizzard recently.
Oh, they did, yes. Yes, they did a remaster as they did with other games, and it's like, whoa, that sucks.
And a lot of people like have looked at it and be like, you guys remastered it by making it somehow graphically worse, which seems impossible.
Yeah.
Like they took all the detail out of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just
that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, no, just take the detail
out.
out.
No, we're going to make it sharper, except we're going to just take all the actual like interesting bits out of it.
Yeah. That was the last thing. That was the last game, like the original release before they shifted gears. I assume to World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Warcraft 3, and then that expansion was like the last. Yeah, that was the last one. Before they were like, all right, let's do World of Warcraft. That'll make us probably a bit of money.
Because World of Warcraft is going to be getting close to be. Yeah, it's going to be. As of November 23rd, in 2 more years, World of Warcraft will start becoming retro. So,
bonkers.
But yeah, there's that. And then in 1996, the aptly named King of Fighters 96, that was the Japanese release on PlayStation 1. The main character that a lot of people will remember today is Leona.
Oh, yeah.
That's where she was introduced. That's it for that day. We move on to July the 4th. Happy Independence Day, by the way, to our American brethren. in, I guess a belated Happy Independence Day for that matter. And
Yep.
ironically enough, just becoming retro this year, unfortunately, because it also means it's a military game, in 2002 for the PC North America, America's Army first became a thing.
Whoa.
And I remember that because I was like, what the hell is this thing? And I saw like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like if Counter-Strike decided to make a game that was geared for people joining the army, and I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah. That
But I
was
guess
weird.
I guess in the end it was a clever idea.
Clever idea. Yeah, I'd give them that.
I mean, if they could get a hold of Activision, I'm sure Activision would do it. I mean, it's not like Activision shy away from really stupid ideas for money.
Yeah, but Activision would do it now, where not only do you play the game, but you pay microtransactions so you can then get into the army. They'd do something to put microtransactions in there. Is what I'm
I mean,
saying.
it's not like it's that much different from the way that soldiers generally get treated once they leave the army. So
This is true. This is true.
But we go from 2002 all the way back to 1984 because the other release that we have today, or not today, on that day, is a Japanese release on the NES, and it is Donkey Kong 3, which I didn't even know was a thing.
I knew that one was a thing, but I never played that one because I played the original, and then Donkey Kong Jr. was fun, but then I stopped. A third one, I was like, I don't need it.
Let's see what this sucker looks like, because I do not remember a lick about it. And as I stare at it, I'm like, well, that looks like a game, I guess. That's
Probably is.
I'll quickly put it up for the viewers here on the video stream, but yeah, that looks like a game. I mean, it sure has Donkey Kong in it. I say as the screen currently doesn't have Donkey Kong on it. There we go. I fixed the problem. But yeah, it sure is a Donkey Kong game. I mean, obviously those games back in the day weren't like what we think of Donkey Kong today as.
No.
But I mean, all I see right now is what looks like a blue Mario squirting water at Donkey Kong's crotch, which is, I guess, a thing. So
It was the prequel to Super Mario Sunshine.
yeah, what do you know? Anyways, moving back. So we go to the 5th now. There are 2 games on this list, and a company's institution.
Ooh.
And we go way back for that one, but we'll get to that in a minute. So back to Warcraft 3. This time it was European release on PC, so just a couple days later. You'll know this game, though, 1996 for the Saturn on a Japanese release. Can you guess what Saturn game that might be?
Nights into Dreams or something?
It is Nights into Dreams.
Oh, I love that game. It gives me all the feels. And it's funny, I didn't play it back then. I didn't play it until like much later. I think
Probably not until like Dreamcast, maybe, or even like a Sega re-release, because I know they had like re-releases of those games.
I
too.
think it was on PS3. They re-released it then. And I played it, and I actually beat the Christmas level on Christmas Eve. And now I actually have a tradition where I've got the game now on Steam, but I have it always installed so I can play the Christmas level on like Christmas Eve or around Christmas, just to get into the spirits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that game.
So this is the one where we go, like, I thought we were going way back when we went to 1984. We're going to 1950 right now.
All right.
So in 1950, a company was formed. Now, obviously, it wasn't making video games right away, but people will know this name very well. Bandai Co. started in 1950. So obviously now people will know it as Bandai Namco. Some of the games that they're doing now is like Digimon Survive, which will be out soon. We talked about the Pac-Man World Repack.
Yeah.
That's under their brand. Other things that you could think of, like Scarlet Nexus, which recently came out, the Tales series that they do. They do like a bunch of other stuff. Like they even had a hand in Elden Ring. They had like a hand in helping with that. But like there's a lot of things like they're usually the anime game maker for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like One Piece, My Hero Academia, Sword Art Online, stuff like that.
Oh,
but yeah, they have on that day, July 5th, over 72 years ago.
That's so crazy. I wonder what they were making. Action figures or something? What do you make back then?
Quickly find out what they were doing when they
It's got to be toys. It has to be.
I had an article initially, and it's now because I don't want Bandai Namco. I want to start from the very beginning here. I assume it started as a toy company. I would imagine.
Mon poker tables. I want something random.
Because a big part, well, also a big part of is a Bandai. It might be Bandai actually, but they are also big with like Gundams, right? So that would be a big part of it too.
That would have been a big part of it.
So when they first came in, it did start as a toy division. Does it say what they started really working on at that point? Um, the early thing that I'm seeing are things like Metallic Toys Rubber Swimming Rings released its first original product the same year, the Rhythm Ball, a beach ball with a bell inside that suffered from numerous quality defects. Well, that's a good start. Inexpensive metal cars and aircraft models. Some of them got exported to the US. As I see here, didn't achieve considerable success until 1963 when it started doing things off of Astro Boy, and then it started doing Ultraman, and then eventually Gundam.
Yeah.
So it took a while for them to get their footing, but obviously once they got, especially into the 70s when Gundam started becoming a big thing, that's when they started really pushing forward. And then as I see here, it looks like they started in the video game market around 83, it seems.
Yeah, that would make sense. That's when a lot of people were hopping on.
It was apparently also was one of the first third-party developers for the Nintendo Family computer in '85. So they definitely have a long history in Japanese gaming for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I wanted them to start random, and they had a musical volleyball that didn't work. That's exactly what I wanted. That's what I want to hear. That's how I want to hear a company get started.
That's the kind of history you want on this show. Yeah, here's this really famous company. Also, they sucked for like 10 years.
I want to get my hands on one of these musical volleyballs. I want to.
As we move on to the 6th, aka mostly 2001 games, we have 3 games in 2001 and 1 from 97. So we'll start in 2001, obviously. 3 games on this list. One was a Game Boy Advance port in Japan. That was Breath of Fire, which obviously people know from Super Nintendo.
Heck yeah.
We've talked about this game several times on the show. We'll just repeat the same thing. Awesome game. Why the hell hasn't it been remade? Come on.
Yeah.
Or at least re-released. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Also, European release for the PlayStation original, Digimon World, the first one, which I don't think I played that one. I played a little bit of the third one.
I don't think I played any of them at that point.
I used to own a copy of it. I know it's actually a lot more expensive now, but I got rid of it because I didn't like it. So why would I keep it? Because that was back in the day where I'm just like, I keep the things I actually want to keep because they're good.
Yep.
Now there are games on my shelf that I'm just like, well, it's either throw it in the trash or keep it on the shelf because no one's buying this thing at this point. So, and I'm not wasting the time trying to get somebody to come on Kijiji to pay like $2 for it. That seems like a waste of my and their time.
It is.
And then last but not least, we've talked about this game, I think last week even, but a European release for Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, obviously on Sega Saturn, right?
It must be. Anything that was not 64-bit. There's no way it would have been.
Yeah, anything with 64 in the title clearly was for any console but the N64, right?
Oh, why weren't all the Super Nintendo games like something 16?
I mean, there were a lot of Super games.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Super
Batter Up.
Yeah.
Super Star Wars.
Oh, but Super Mario was already Super. Yeah.
Super Metroid.
Yeah. Super Metroid, yeah.
Super Final Fantasy 7.896, 358 over 7,850.213 Prologue HD Remaster XX.
Wow, that's good. Oh, you deserve that breath, man. Holy shit.
But last but not least, 1997 for arcades in Japan, Bloody Roar, which I remember playing, I believe, on GameCube or PlayStation 2, one or the other.
I played the original Bloody Roar on PlayStation 1. Is that 97, you said? Yeah, that's got to be PS1. Holy shit, that game was so fun. But my friends were so good at it, and I have always sucked. I remember getting owned. One character, whose name was like Gato, and my one friend would play as Gato, and he would get like 132 hit combo on me. Fucking dead. I'm like literally just a dead corpse, and he got that crazy combo. Couldn't even get one hit on him.
That was the bane of my existence back then. Now I'm usually the one in our group of friends that's good at them, even though I haven't even played the games. I just seem to know how they work.
Nah, I can't. I've never been able to do it. I'm not quick enough or angry enough. I don't know what it is. I don't know. My survival instincts for fighting must suck.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We get to today, for us as of recording, this game turned 22. A lot of people have probably seen the news today if they've been paying attention. Final Fantasy IX is the only one on this list. Japanese release in PlayStation 1 of 2000. It is now 22 years old. I need to go back and play this game because I cannot remember if I've actually finished it even.
Oh, you've got to then.
Got to. At some point, I definitely will.
Yeah, it's my third favorite. If it weren't for the Super Nintendo ones, it would be my favorite Final Fantasy.
And I love to go back too because I haven't finished it or don't remember nearly as much. I don't actually know how it ranks anymore, right? Compared to everything else, I don't know how I treat it in other aspects. And also, because I've been pining for an old school Final Fantasy, that is 9. 9 is legitimately like the last old school Final Fantasy. So
Yep, the side quests, the searching around a world map. Oh yeah, all of it. All of it. Oh, it's the last true one. You got to go. You got to do it.
well, we'll get to that at some point. You also got me Chrono Trigger for Steam recently, so I got to work on that at some point too.
Yeah, I did. Thank the Steam summer sale for that.
Right? Anyways, moving on to the 8th, we have one game. This is a very, very off one, but I can always laugh when I see the name of it. Japanese release in 1994. It's not the original release, but it's the Super Nintendo release there. Tetris 2, aka the game that I don't know why anyone asked for.
Fuck, there was a Tetris 2?
I mean,
I didn't even know that.
there are so many Tetris games out there. Like, when you really go through the history, like, I think Video Game Donkey actually did a really good video on just, like, all the stupid off Tetris games that have existed over the years.
Like, calling it Tetris 2 is ballsy. Like, I get having, like, a specific Tetris, like, putting it on Sega and it being, like, Tetris Sonic Edition or something. Like, I get that. But it's a different edition of the original game. You can't upgrade and change Tetris. Like, it's just blocks falling. There's no Tetris 2. What is the story continuing in this, like, what a name. I wonder if it's any good.
I mean, it looks like sort of Tetris. As I have it on the video screen right now, it looks kind of like Tetris. It's not, but it looks kind of like it. There are blocks in it. I can give you that much.
There's a whole story now. It's actually a first-person shooter, and you got to shoot the blocks before they land.
You say that somebody's going to do that.
Oh yeah, somebody probably has.
I mean, we
in
know that
VR.
off-brand Tetrises can work because Tetris Effect exists, and Tetris Effect is, from what I understand, amazing. I think we've even said it on the show too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. If you want to just chill out and zen out, that's what you get.
Well, we're almost about to chill out because we're on the last day, but we're not going to chill out with the first game on this list as we do the 9th of July. Japanese release on the N64 in 1999. This is the bane of my existence because I prayed that this game was good as a kid and it sucked ass. Quest 64.
Yeah. All I remember is Blue Man. There was one stupid enemy. He was literally just a blue man, and that was his name.
We've talked about this game before. It is such ass. Oh my god, this game is so bad.
I bought it the day it came out, full price. Like, I ran to the store. I'm such an idiot. I think I convinced my friends to do the same. They hate me.
Well,
Actually,
it was like one of the only JRPGs there were on that console because Square was trying to work on the PlayStation with Nintendo, or not Square, Sony was. And then when Sony left, they also seemed to piss off Square in the process. So Square was just like, well, just go to these guys then because that console can handle a little bit more, we say, as, you know, you see what happened in Final Fantasy VII. It was still triangle titties, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have run on N64.
Well, those FMV cutscenes would, especially in 8 and 9, would not have run on the N64.
No.
I mean, they would have run, but at like maybe 5 frames per second.
It would have been still images.
I'm just imagining the intro. Those. Trying to get through the intro 8, it would take you like an hour.
I'd put that on every day. It's how I'd wake up.
Yeah, because you'd be so annoyed, but you're like, you'd start learning to like put your alarm clock away, like somewhere where you'd have to like actually stand up and be awake, so you're at least aware enough to not like destroy the thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, so good.
But last but not least, 1993 Japanese release for the Super Nintendo, Yoshi's Cookie.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, that game was amazing.
Was that a puzzle game or was that a different?
It was a puzzle game. It was a puzzle game. It was, I mean, think something like Bejeweled or something where you're moving things around so you can match them. But they were all cookies, and you were in a cookie factory, and you had to reorganize them.
That looks neat. It almost reminds me of like how a lot of games in the Game & Watch package would kind of look like, in a sense, where you had like what looked like the one character leading stuff in, the other character was like putting stuff in. I know it's not actually what's happening, but
yeah, it was as you move stuff left, say, Mario would flip a switch to move everything left, and then Yoshi was, if you move stuff upward, he flipped the switch for things to go up and down.
It looks like the kind of game that you'd see at those machines in bars.
Yeah. I would love that. That was such a good game. Wait a minute. That they need a re-release or something of Yoshi's fucking cookie.
Yeah, you could clean up the pixels a little bit and just re-release that quickly for it to make a quick
Yeah.
buck, Nintendo. But
Yeah, what the
remember,
hell?
Nintendo did admit that they can't make like sequels or remasters for everything, which again did not set me off on the Pixel Play episode that you should totally watch from this week.
I'm gonna watch this rant for sure. I'm gonna grab popcorn and watch it.
Well, as we are at the end of the list of this week's world, I have one more thing that you should get your popcorn ready for. So I've mentioned it on this podcast before, but we have an official date because it is this next week. So the actual show, I should say, starts at 7 o'clock. So at the Games Done Quick Twitch channel, they're doing the hotfix. They're doing the Awfully Silly show there. 7 o'clock is its start time. We are the second of two runs. It is slated. The first one's slated to be an hour, so approximately around 8 p.m. Eastern is supposed to be the run that I will be there to commentate for. I am not the runner. I will be the commentator on that run. My dear friend from the Final Fantasy IV community, Oscar424, will be doing a run of The Quiet Man, which is an infamously bad Square Enix game from 2018 that I know nothing about, so which is going to make this even more interesting when I get to commentate that live in front of like thousands of people. I'm not freaking out a little bit about that idea.
Well, I'm excited. And if anybody wants to hang out during that time, I will be in the chat. So come hang out so we can just rip on Adam the whole time. No, I'm kidding. We won't do that.
Well, you're not going to be ripping on me. You're going to be too busy going, what the hell are we watching with this game? Because that's what I've been told is going to probably happen.
I imagine that's what it will be. And I'm glad to watch it because then I'll never have to play it myself.
Right?
Take that, Square.
But yeah, that is going to do it for the show. So yeah, check out that stream on Monday. Give Games Done Quick all your love, especially because of what they did in the last week for Doctors Without Borders. $3 million. I know it's not the record, but god damn, that's a lot of money.
I know. I know that they kept it running a bit over time, but I mean, you can't complain.
I mean, it's a charity. It's still worth it.
Charity.
It's a little frustrating that, it had to be like that, but hey, if it's for charity, you kind of let it go.
Yeah. They hit the 3 million. That's good enough.
But yeah, that's going to do it for the show. So obviously, thank you so much for checking us out this week, assuming I've released it in the week it's supposed to be out this week. But if you guys enjoy the show and are willing to put up with me not scheduling things properly, or just me in general, I guess I can understand that part too. Obviously, if you can like the videos and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, do that. If you're listening on any audio platform that you listen on, if you can give us any sort of rating, please do so. Otherwise, share it with all of your friends that are big gamers, especially the retro gamers for this show. And if you want to know more about us, you can hit our link tree. That is linktree/pixelplaypodcast, linktr.ee/pixelplaypodcast. That has all of our socials, link to our email if you want to send us questions for the show, link to our Discord, which you should be joining, and obviously where you can find the podcast, both video and audio forms. So on behalf of myself and Chris, thank you so much for checking out this week's episode, and we will see you next week when we see what happens in the retro world, or if we just have to make stuff up like we seem to have to lately, because apparently nobody wants to do good stuff anymore.
No, they don't.
Well, c'est la vie. We're going to go watch Thor tonight, so we'll talk about that next week. Otherwise, see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.